I knew I wasn't wanted the moment the group chat went silent. It was a casual thread. My cousins, my aunts, even my brother, everyone chatting about the beach trip, a tradition we used to call ours. The photos from previous years still hang framed in my hallway. Bonfires, sunscreen-slicked smiles, and ocean sunsets we all pretended to treasure. But this year, no one asked me if I was free. No one even checked. Instead, the messages felt coded, passive-aggressive. Can't wait to finally relax with everyone this summer. So glad we won't have to worry about budget constraints this time. That one came from Melanie, my cousin. The same one who once asked to borrow $2,000 when her fiancé crashed her car. I gave it without hesitation and never saw a dime returned. Now she was talking about budget constraints like I was an inconvenience. I swallowed it quietly until the final blow came. It was a photo, a group selfie, 10 of them, arms slung over one another's shoulders, all grinning in front of a glassy blue ocean backdrop. The caption, Beach House 2025, our favorite tradition with the best crew, no stress, just vibes. I wasn't in it. But you know who was? Riley, my brother's girlfriend. They've been together 6 months. She calls me, "What's your name?" at family dinners. And yet there she was, tan lines and all, laughing with a drink in her hand, fitting into a space I used to fill. It wasn't just exclusion. It was replacement. I stared at that photo for 5 minutes straight, pretending it didn't sting, pretending the tears blurring my vision weren't from anything other than eye strain. But deep down, I knew. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't forgetfulness. This was a decision. They didn't think I belonged. I was too poor, according to my aunt, whispering into a wine glass 2 summers ago when she didn't know I was walking behind her. She's sweet, but let's be real. You can't invite someone who brings thrift store snacks to a luxury weekend. That moment has lived rent-free in my mind for 2 years. I kept showing up anyway. I kept brushing it off because I thought if I tried hard enough, gave enough, smiled enough, maybe I could belong again. I was wrong. And what they didn't know was I had already changed. 3 years ago, I left my corporate job, not because I was a failure, but because I wanted something more, something mine. I spent 2 years sleeping on a pull-out couch, eating instant noodles, and building an online business from the ground up, selling handcrafted furniture, home decor, and eventually designing entire interior spaces. Every late night, every missed party, every moment I didn't show up was a building block. They thought I had vanished because I couldn't afford the lifestyle anymore. What I was really doing was creating one of my own. And when I saw that photo, that moment of exclusion sealed with sunlit smiles and cocktails, something inside me clicked. It didn't hurt anymore. It activated something entirely else. 3 weeks later, I stood barefoot on overgrown grass, facing a rundown shell of a building next to their precious beach house. The resort had been abandoned for years, a failed investment by someone who didn't understand how to bring dreams to life. But I did. And I had the money to prove it. It had been sitting in my business account, untouched, quiet, waiting. While they were comparing credit scores and leasing cars they couldn't afford, I had been quietly compounding. Savings, reinvestments, clients on a wait list for months ahead. The property was cheap. Broken, yes, but with good bones. Sea-facing, wide open land. A forgotten gem right next door to the same beach house that thought I didn't belong. So I bought it. In cash. I didn't tell anyone. Not at first. I hired a local crew and poured myself into the work like it was therapy. I spent my mornings with construction workers, my afternoons choosing materials, and my nights in silence, listening to the waves crash against the shore, reminding me that even when people leave you behind, the world keeps moving, and sometimes it brings you somewhere better. Word started spreading, of course. My cousin Jamie messaged me once. "Hey, is it true you're flipping that dump next to the house?" I ignored it. The next message came 2 days later. "Wait, are you living there?" That one made me laugh. I wasn't living there. I was building something bigger than all of them. The beach house had always represented this exclusive world of we're better, built on brunches, family gossip, and generational wealth they never had to earn. But now, for the first time, they'd have to look out their window and see me. Not just existing, thriving. They still thought I was the poor cousin, the charity case, the one who brought Aldi brand trail mix and asked for tap water instead of wine. Let them. Let them think I was too poor to stay. Let them think I was invisible. Because in a few weeks, they were going to see the grand opening banners, the champagne ribbon-cutting ceremony, the beachfront yoga retreat, the VIP guest list with influencers and CEOs, and not a single one of them. I wasn't just building a resort. I was reclaiming every moment I ever felt small, disposable, or second tier. And when they finally noticed, really noticed, it wouldn't be because I begged for their attention. It would be because I took the silence they gave me and turned it into something they could no longer ignore. They left me out for a vacation. So I bought the coast. And I wasn't done yet. I used to believe that love, real love, meant sacrifice. That if you gave enough time, money, help, forgiveness, you'd eventually earn your place. Belonging, I thought, was like a reward. And if I worked hard enough, stayed quiet enough, swallowed enough of myself, maybe they'd finally let me keep it. Looking back now, I see how dangerous that belief was. The first time I offered too much was the summer after Dad died. I was 19, barely holding myself together. My mom had already emotionally checked out, and my brother, Thomas, was drinking through his grief. That year, the family decided we'd still go on the annual beach trip to keep things normal. I didn't want to go, but they insisted, said it would be good for me, said I needed family. I remember packing peanut butter sandwiches because I couldn't afford to stop for food on the way. I remember arriving late because my shift at the bookstore ran over. And I remember walking into the kitchen and hearing Melanie say, "Oh good, the charity case made it." She meant it as a joke. Everyone laughed. So I laughed too. That's how it always started. Jokes at my expense, comments on my clothes, my beat-up car, how I always offered to cook instead of pitching in for catered meals. They made me feel like I was always taking, even when I was constantly giving. But I kept showing up, because deep down I was scared that if I didn't, they'd stop inviting me altogether. The real breaking point didn't come until years later during the worst year of my life. I had just lost my job, downsizing. I was humiliated, but I kept it quiet. I didn't want pity. I just needed time to regroup. I took freelance gigs, cleaned houses, sold my old clothes online. And when Melanie called me in tears, saying her wedding budget had gone way over and she needed help to cover the final payments for her venue, I wired her $2,000 that I didn't have to spare. She said, "You're a lifesaver." Then she uninvited me from the rehearsal dinner because they needed to keep it intimate. I remember sitting in the parking lot outside that wedding venue, alone in my car, watching everyone pose for pictures on the grass in pastel outfits and champagne smiles. I had done her makeup that morning. I had held her bouquet while she adjusted her heels. But when the real celebration came, I wasn't important enough to stay. And the worst part? I told myself I understood. I told myself, you don't fit. You're not like them. I was so used to being excluded that I started believing it was fair. When Thomas borrowed money to help with his down payment, I gave it. When Aunt Carl hinted that I never contribute to family gifts, I overcompensated. I was the first to show up, the last to leave, always available, always willing. I kept thinking, if I just give a little more, maybe this time they'll see me. But they never did. Or maybe they did, and they liked it that way. There was a night, years ago, when it all could have changed, when I could have spoken up, taken my space back. But I didn't. It was Christmas. My grandmother had just passed away. Everyone was fragile, quiet. We were all sitting around the fire exchanging memories, and Thomas started talking about how Grandma had helped him get into business school,